Alright, take 5. Barber seems to be a tough track to talk and drive at the same time. And then I was finally putting together some good laps, and my shifter decided not to shift. So we'll see if I'm 5th time lucky. Hopefully. So just after the 3 here, going into 3rd, turning in, little gas, back on the brakes into 2nd, going over that curb on the left. Up here, just lifting right at the start of that curb, waiting to turn into the right, and then back on the gas. You can get back on the gas a little earlier once the tires get up to temp. Here I'm lifting and then kind of just floating the car through this last section. A little bit of gas, soft on the brakes, just letting the car get through the track. So coming to the start of the lap, look for the 3. Going into 3rd, turning in a little early. And then into 2nd once I get it going up the hill. On the throttle at the start of that curb on the right. This is flat up the hill. Braking right at the 3, maybe slightly before, into 2nd. Not touching this curb on the right, or on the left, sorry. It will majorly upset the car. Just after the 3, into 3rd. Little gas, then into 2nd over that curb. And up into 3rd, and again here, lift. Take a little bit of this curb on the left. Took too much of the curb on the left, so I didn't get rotation. So I couldn't get on the gas in time. Braking at the 2 there. You can take a bunch of that curb on the right. And again here, just kind of floating it through here. There is a point that I'm looking for a little bit of brakes into here, which I'll point out in the replay after. It's hard to describe. Still can't shift into 3rd. That one I think was user error. Braking at the 3. Up the hill into 2nd. And looking for this curb on the right, on the throttle. Just staying flat. Turning in further right than it feels like I should, but the hill will pull you to the left. You can basically drive at that curb on the right up the hill, and the hill just pulls you left away from the curb. Sticking close here, getting on the throttle as early as possible, letting the car just drift back to the left. Take a little bit of this curb, then on the throttle. Not the best, but better than last lap. At the 2 into 3rd, you can take a lot of that curb, back on the throttle a bit, onto the brakes, and then again just floating it through here. You can take that curb on the right. You can't really take too much curb of this on the left. Alright. That one wasn't too bad. Not great, but I'm okay posting that. But I'll go through. Let's see. Okay. So I'll just talk through some stuff here. So I'm looking for the 3 here. Actually braked earlier than I meant to. But I'm looking for the 3 here. And you want to get turned in early. Because staying on the right side of the track here, there's just the way that it's sloped and the track itself just has no grip. You will slide out, or you'll have to slow down much more for the corner. Oh, that's why I braked so early. This was wrong lap. Here we go. Yeah, okay. So on my ultra wide, I can just see the 3 board exiting my screen right as my brakes come on. So that's what I'm looking at. So maybe, depending on your setup, maybe a little bit before the 3 board. But I'm turning in early. I'm aiming to just barely clip the curb. Because again, like I said, there's no grip out here on the right, so you can carry more speed. And then once I start going up the hill, downshift into second, and kind of just make my way around the right-hander. Yeah, right. Getting on the gas, hard on the gas, right at the start of that curb on the right, letting the car just push out to the left, and then I want to aim like past the curb on the right, really, because going up the hill is going to push my car back to the left. So I'm trying to turn right of the curb, really, and that lets me take that flat. I didn't nail this very well. I'm aiming to just barely touch this start of the curb. It's the only part that's really fine to touch. And then by the time I get here, I'm fully on the throttle. I lifted a little bit here. If you get enough rotation, you can just be fully on the throttle for this next straight. If you don't have enough rotation, it's going to push you wide. So then down here, between the 2 and the 3, and then I'm shifting into third, getting back on the throttle a little bit, and then I'm taking a lot of this curb on the left. Every once in a while, it'll upset the car a little weird, but most of the time, it's fine as long as you're not braking too hard. If you're braking too hard, it'll immediately cause you to lock up. And then I want to stick to the inside of this, and which will let me get on the throttle as early as possible, which just lets the car drift itself out to the left curb. Then here, it's just a lift. You see all the way through there, I have no inputs. If I'm really pushing, I might stay on the gas a little longer and then use a little brake right about here and then get on the throttle. But this curb on the right, this will, you barely get on this and it gives you a 1x, so in quali it's really not worth pushing that too much. And this curb on the left, if you take too much, it throws you about, so it's really hard to push the curbs safely. Here I'm braking at the 2, trying to turn in. This curb is fine, I take a ton of it. Usually not, unless you take another half tire width than I did here, you should avoid a 1x. And that lets me get back on the throttle a little bit before braking. I got on the throttle too much there because I want to be on this curb on the right. The car will just, going up this hill, the car just wants to float out to the left. And then, yeah, just kind of floating the car, no brakes yet, just feathering the throttle as much as I can. And then what I'm looking for here, which is really weird, is this kind of point. The white line kind of points where it curves a little harder, which if you get used to it, you can kind of see it. And that's where I'm starting to, I start to hit the brake, but I don't brake really hard because I want to continue carrying speed. I'm just a little bit on the brakes, letting the car just drive itself around this section, basically. Just letting it go. Take a lot of that curb. And then trying to stay right here so I can open up the entry and get a good run down the front straight, basically. And the brakes there is kind of just after or just at the start of that curb. And then this curb as well, if you just barely get over that curb, like let's see what my car looks like here. I mean, if I get another half tire width over, that's a 1x once I hit that grass. So you really got to be careful on this curb as well. There's a lot of stuff with this track that it's hard, at least personally, it's hard to explain. It's just kind of feel. So I don't know how helpful this is. But that's why I try to go a little bit more in depth in the replays, because a lot of it, at least for me, is just feel rather than concrete things. But yeah, I'll be posting the set that I used for this and the set that I'm going to use in the race. And good luck, everyone.